Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're working on part 2 of learning to animate, which is using what we learned last week and actually making the Instagram advert that I promised you guys that I'll show you how to make.
This is going to be a comprehensive review.
My name is Tiffen.
Shut up!
Before I move on to the rest of the video, I need you guys to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and also after watching the video, please like it, share it with your friends. If you know people who's trying to learn basic animation, send this video to them. So last week I spoke about how to create a new composition, how to create movement in After Effects using like a couple of boxes. So we're going to use those principles today and create the first bit of the advert, which is the text banners flying in from either side. The first thing you need to do is obviously create your composition, create the vertical resolution, which if you don't know how to do, go back again and check my video from last week. I teach you how to create compositions. So I've created a 1920 by height and 1080 by width, and I've also recorded the video on the camera vertically, right? So I don't have to crop unnecessarily. So once you drag and drop the video, it's obviously going to be in the vertical space. All you have to do is click on the layer in the timeline and hit R on your keyboard, and then you'll see a rotation tab drop down, and this is where you can use it. So obviously when you move it around, you can see your footage moving up and down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it to -90 and forward the clip to the point where the advert starts. The way you split or cut your layer into two separate layers is, from a certain point, the keyboard shortcut for that is Control-Shift-D, right? So when you hit Control-Shift-D, it's gonna cut the clip and put it into two different layers, right? Unlike Premiere, you don't have a cut tool where you can just cut from a certain point. So once you have that, I'm going to delete the first bit and drag the point to the start of the timeline. Once I have the clip adjusted to the place where I want it to be, I'm going to emphasize the words kickstart your business, right? I want to grab people's attention as soon as they come onto the advertisement, because people just swipe off really quickly. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to try and emphasize that. Now the way I like to do it, obviously there's so many other ways to do it. The way I like to do it is to start adding the words first. Now I want to edit kickstart your biz and the word your and then the word business on 3 separate layers, because I'll be editing them separately, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the T icon on the top left corner. Also, if you want the keyboard shortcut, when you hover over certain icons, it shows you what icon or what keyboard shortcut you need to click. So it's Control T, and then I'm going to click, and then I'm going to start typing the words. So I'm going to start off with kick start. You can adjust the font of the letters on the right side on the control panel on the right side here, under the character tab. When you bring it, so you can you have the option of bringing the font size down. Whenever you have caps lock on, after using it, just switch it off if you get an error like that. So if I want to move this text around, I need to switch back to the navigate or the selection tool. So it's V on the keyboard, which is easy to remember. It's the same as Photoshop. So I'm gonna edit the font to the size that I want. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna center this, right? So for me to center, there is a tab called the Align tab in the Tools panel here. When you click on it, you can align the text to whatever side you want to. So I'm going to put it dead center, so there is a middle align. So now that I have this baseline, I'm not gonna type it create a new text layer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this, because I want the font size to be the same and stuff like that. So I'm going to hit Control D. On After Effects, to duplicate something, you just hit Control D and it duplicates the layer. Now obviously you won't see anything, but if you grab and drag one layer to the top, you'll see, you know, there are two layers sitting on each other. So let me just drag this to the top, and I'm gonna hit Control D again, so because I want the words to be in three lines. So I'm gonna hit Control D again, bring this down. Oops. Double click on the text. When you double click, it goes into edit mode on After Effects. So I'm gonna say it's kickstart, the letter yo, again caps locks, yo, and then, you know, click the layer. If you want to get out of editing text, just click anywhere else on the screen and it'll just remove it. So now I'm going to double click on kickstart your business. I need to space these equally, you know, so that, you know, it looks equally spaced from one another. So you can hit Control R and bring these rulers in on After Effects, which, you know, can be very helpful. But what I like to do is I like to create a temporary duplicate and then use that to space my words. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this in the center and use that to equally distance them from one another, if that's even a word. So once I'm done that, I can just delete that layer. So now they're in equal distance to each other. What we need to do now is we just need to animate the text. Now before you add the banners in the back, let's just go ahead and animate the text, right? And I'll show you why I'm doing this later. So I'm gonna give it a few frames, right? And I'm gonna make sure I select all the layers, all the text layers, and hit P on the keyboard. Now when I hit P on the keyboard, you're gonna get an option on each layer called the position tab, right? So this is where you have the vertical position controls and the horizontal position controls. If you remember from last week's tutorial, so I'm gonna hit and add keyframes to all three layers, because this is where I want the text to end, right? So I'm gonna go back to the start and I'm gonna individually drag these to the position where I want it to come in from, right? So the 0 position. So let me select them one by one. I want kickstart to come in from the right, and then business coming from the right as well. When you play it back, obviously you can see it's slowly coming in, so you can speed it up a bit, right?
If you are trying to kickstart, you
can speed it up even more.
If you are trying to kickstart,
okay, that seems a little okay. So remember the last time I said we need to give it an organic feel, how if something is moving, it starts slow, accelerates, and then slows, decelerates, and comes to a stop. So we need to do that to the text here. So the way we do that is we select all the keyframes and you hit F9 on the keyboard, and then these keyframes transform into an hourglass kind of look. So now it's going to look a little bit better. So we're not done yet. We need to add the motion blur, if you remember from last week. So I'm going to add the motion blur by ticking this icon here, the 3 balls. And yeah, so now it's going to look a little better, right? So now that you have that animated, what you need to do is you need to add the banners, right? Or the banners that the text falls in. So this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to, you know, make sure that I'm not like selecting any of the layers, right? Because once you need to make sure that you've clicked out and nothing is selected. And you need to go into the you need to select the rectangle tool on the top left corner. Once you select it, you can adjust the colors using this option on the top here. It's called fill and stroke. You need to make sure that there is no stroke. The way to do that is to click on stroke and see if and use the option on the far left corner, right, which is this one. So fill, you can leave it like this for now, because once I draw the banners, then you can change the colors later. So I'm going to draw the banner, right? So the reason the text disappeared is because the text layer is underneath the shape layer. So what you need to do is you need to go to your timeline, click on the text layer and drag it down, right? So now you can see it's on top. When you're on the selection tools and you use the arrow keys on the keyboard, it just moves it around on After Effects, so be mindful of that. So once I've centered it, I'm gonna do the same thing as I did for the text. I'm going to hit Ctrl D and duplicate them and drag them down, right? So again, hit duplicate, and then I'm gonna hit V to get the selection tool and then drag it down, right? I'm gonna do the same again, duplicate and then drag it down. Center everything a bit. Okay, so now that we have the banners ready, let's change the colors. So I'm gonna, for this, I always bring like a color palette in. I don't use my own eyeballs because this is an advert and you want, you know, contrasting colors and, you know, colors that are pleasant. So I just bring in like a color palette. Like you can just Google stuff like contrasting color palettes or contrasting flat color palettes. I have a, I'm gonna use one just to get the colors on this, right? So let's see. I'm gonna bring in the color palette, and I'm gonna use this to get the right colors. So again, I'm gonna select the top box or the shape layer on the top, and I'm gonna click on the fill the box, the color icon, and it'll bring up this color picker. So you can click on this tool here, which you know, replicates any color that you hover that pointer on. So I'm going to select these three colors that are there. So I'm going to start off with this green, and I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to do the same to the others. Just click fill, pick the color picker, and then go ahead and, you know, add colors to it. So once you have the colors selected, you can delete that color palette. How do you animate the banners to fly in with the text? Now, there is an easy way to do this. We just need to tie the banner onto the text, you know, with like a rope or something. And After Effects has that very option for us to tie anything to each other, so when they move in unison. And the tool that's used in After Effects is called the pick whip, right? So it's this swirly little icon. So once you you need to make this shape layer number 3, it has to be tied to the business word, right? So you need to, you know, click and hold that, and as you can see, there's like a pick whip thing that's being dragged. So you need to take that and hover over the business text layer, and then once it, like, you know, glows like this, or there's an indication where, okay, it's selected on that text layer, just let go. Now if you take a look, that blue banner is connected to the text. So we need to do this to all 3 banner layers, right? So all you have to do is make sure you go to the home point again, and then this you need to tie it to the right word, like so. Now when you move it, you can see the boxes moving as it. But the problem is the text has the motion blur in it, the boxes don't. So you need to go and enable motion blur on the boxes. So now you have everything that you need. Now something that I love about After Effects is you can do the timing later, right? Now that you've created the baseline, you can make sure that this keyframe is starting at the point where you are speaking. So you can just move it around like this, and make sure it's hitting the right point. So let's find out where kickstart starts.
If you are trying to kickstart,
start somewhere around there. So I'm going to select kickstart, and then I'm going to This should have been in order. So I'm gonna
kickstart your business.
So as you can see, there is a few things that, you know, there's the boxes peeking out, so you can go and readjust this. So all you have to do is select, for example, the word yo is sticking out a bit. All you need to do is go to the beginning of that keyframe and pull this a little bit further out. Same with business, just make sure you pull further out. Again, similarly with the second one, just pull it out a bit. And there you have it. That's how you add text banners. Now let's not stop there, let's bring in a little bit more, you know, we'll stylize it a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add like a shadow to the text layer. So the way you do that is you go to effects and presets and you add something called drop shadow. Just search drop shadow. All you have to do is drag it. Now once you drag something onto the effects layer, it goes into the effect control tab on the left corner, right? So it's called effect controls, and there you can see what happens. Now if I increase the distance of the shadow, you can see it adding a shadow. So I just want a slight shadow, and I'm going to blur it out a bit so it's not very apparent, keep it a little classy. And now again, I love After Effects for this. All I have to do is copy this, Control C, and then go to all the text layers and just paste. So now, you know, it looks even better.
Your business. Basic animation. You are trying to kickstart your business.
Adjust the timing a bit.
If you are trying to kickstart your business,
there you have it. That's how you do it. Easy as that. It doesn't take that much time. As long as you know the principles and the basics, you can animate whatever you want. If you like this video, please subscribe. Leave a comment. Let me know what you want to learn. If there's something specific that you want to learn, leave it down in the comments. Yeah, and I'll see you guys in the next video.